What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy Nichols here with Miss Karen Barber. She is your superintendent of schools, and I am completely honored to have you here today and getting to talk to you and ask you some questions and get to know a little bit about who you are. How are you doing, Miss Karen?
I'm well, Tommy. Thank you for the invitation to share.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. With that said, guys, you know what we do. We're going to jump right into it. I'm sure this young lady has a lot to do, so we're going to hit roll and get rolling with the questions. First up, who are you?
Well, thank you for calling me young, by the way.
Well, you look younger than me, so you're already
I
good.
appreciate that. So who am I? I'm Dr. Karen Barber. I'm the superintendent of schools for Santa Rosa County School District. This is my 38th year in education.
Oh, wow.
My 27th year here in Santa Rosa County. So we moved here courtesy of the Air Force. My husband was active duty. So we moved from Germany, and first home was in Navarre. So our youngest two children went to school through the Navarre system, and our graduates and proud Raiders. So I had the pleasure of teaching at Navarre High School for a year.
Nice.
I'd been a school principal before we moved here.
Okay.
So then the second year, I went to Holly Navarre Middle School and served as assistant principal there. When Mr. Russell became ill and Mr. Rogers was principal at Gulf Breeze Middle School, he moved to interim superintendent, and then I did double duty. So I would do 3 days as assistant principal at Holly Navarre Middle and then 2 days at Gulf Breeze Middle.
Oh,
and then the next week I'd flip-flop and do 3 days at Gulf Breeze Middle and 2 days at Holly Navarre Middle. It was a great experience, but I felt like a bad waitress on some days, you know.
But it was preparing you for things to
It
come.
was, it sure was. You can see God's hand in that,
That's
I think.
That's right.
Then I was an administrator with our Head Start Pre-K program, assistant principal at East Milton Elementary.
East Milton.
And then for 5 wonderful years, I was the principal at Chumuckla Elementary, just right up the road.
That's right.
One of the best experiences of my life. I love that community. I love that school.
Great
and
place.
then I was director of federal programs for 11 years. So I wrote the majority of our federal grants, looked at our data, looked at needs of students and teachers, and wrote our grants. I was the co-architect of our STEAM Innovate program. That was 13 years ago, bringing science, education, technology, science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics into our schools. We're still sustaining those programs now. So
Good grief.
Developed a tenant-based rental assistance housing program for our children experiencing homelessness. You might be shocked, but right now we have over 1,048 kids in our school district that don't have stable housing, even in our community.
That's sad.
So my passion has always been finding the needs that students have, all of them, whether they're gifted and talented and come from, wealthy homes or from children that are in poverty that need our support. And we're their best chance at having a full, happy life with prosperity. So that's just been my passion my whole life. And now superintendent.
And now you get to overlook all of that stuff right there and make sure that it continues on and continues on successfully.
Yes, sir. So
that is awesome. I love that. All right. We're going to hit on first something that came up last Saturday during the debate. You and the other individual, y'all seem to have a little bit of a back and forth. It went back there. Can you tell us, we're hitting on the school ratings and all that. Can you tell us what you guys were talking about and why that's so important?
Well, first of all, if somebody states that we're in academic decline, that would be very inaccurate. If you look at the metrics, first of all, when you look at district and school grades, there is a percentage of points that you earn with that grade that gives you that rating of A, B, C, D, or F.
Okay.
We are an A-rated district. We are in the top 10, ranked by the percentage of points earned. Now that's one metric, and within that there's not just the state assessments, but there's acceleration points that you get for industry certification. The graduation rate is included in that. So it's a lot of different categories added up. That's one measure. Another big measure, a standalone measure, and to me, the most important measure is the graduation rate. It's the highest it's ever been in Santa Rosa County history.
Wow.
I wouldn't call that decline.
No.
Another measure is the industry certifications earned by our students. So for folks that don't know what an industry certification is, it's really used to be just the trades, or you could say vocational programs. It's way beyond that now. So we have some of the trades that have been around for many years: plumbing, HVAC, construction, automotive, electrical. But we also have biotech, pharmacy tech, cybersecurity. Wow. We have an LPN program. We have welding. I think maybe I mentioned welding already, but we are always expanding. There are 17 career clusters, and we have 16 of the 17 career cluster programs in Santa Rosa County.
Wow.
Over 90 different career academies. Students earn an industry certification, and right out of high school can go and find a high wage, in-demand job. And in the last 2 years, since 21-22, we have increased our industry certifications by 177%. 177%. Now, what I'm really proud of is that in that time, our poverty rate in Santa Rosa County now.
I got to say, you're leading into our next question.
Good.
Achievement, so keep rolling with it.
All right. So the poverty rate, the percentage of children who live in economically disadvantaged homes, this might surprise people as well, is 48%. 48% of the children in Santa Rosa County live in an economically disadvantaged home. Back in 2021, about 20% of the industry certifications earned were from children who lived in economically disadvantaged homes. Now it's over 40%. So we're almost level with that percentage of children living in poverty.
Okay.
So we have more children who need those industry certifications.
Yeah.
Okay. Because what we want to do, and this is my goal, is we want to end generational poverty.
Nice.
We want a prosperity for all of our families in Santa Rosa.
Absolutely.
And we want to produce the workforce, and we want to be part of economic development in Santa Rosa County. So I think by all the important measures, by the percentage of children who pass our state assessments, and the percentage of points we earn on the district and school report cards, by our graduation rate, highest in history, by that 177% increase in industry certifications. And by the way, the state assessment results for the 23-24 school year, I have the raw data, and it looks great.
Okay.
We'll get the actual data from the state the end of July.
All right.
So for somebody to make an assumption or an assessment of the school district that doesn't say, oh my gosh, are they on a roll?
Yeah.
They are on an upward trajectory. If you can't say that with the data I just provided you,
right,
you're looking to not see the success of this school district. And I think it is really disrespecting the teachers and the educators in our school district who have worked so hard.
Yeah.
You know.
Gotcha.
Does that answer that question?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Like I said, you hit on the third question,
okay.
So we can just keep on rolling. So we'll just jump right into budget items, such as how do you think you have done concerning the budget? You hit on teacher salaries, and how do we get the best and then keep them, and also the infrastructure improvements along with the budget.
Sure. So the budget, it is a challenge. And
can
people
imagine.
would be very surprised at some of the ways in which it doesn't seem logical how the school district budgets work or how we get those funds. So the school district has a budget of just over $500 million, which sounds like a lot of money.
Right,
but we have almost 30,000 students. We have 35 schools. We have over 3,100 employees. So an enormous amount of cost goes into, but every decision we make, every penny we spend should be student-centered. How is this going to affect student learning?
Absolutely.
How is this in the best interest of students? So we have to take that money and live within our means. The legislature and the governor determine what our budget is. And it is a state, local, and federal dollars. Okay. Now we can go out and get some competitive grants, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit, because we've been very aggressive and very successful with competitive grants. I can bring additional dollars in that way. But the Florida Education Finance Program, the FEFP, is what we get from the state. Okay. We are waiting on the official first calculation of next year's budget right now. This is the crazy part that people will be like, what? That makes no sense. But it is what it is.
Right.
That budget will have 5 different versions. And with every version, there are financial adjustments.
Okay.
So think about this. You get paid January, well, you're a teacher. Let's say you're a teacher. And you start working in August. And you get your paychecks for the next 12 months. Okay. But after the year is over, we come back and say, we paid you too much, give money back. That would be crazy, right? How do you plan your own household budget? But that's exactly what happens with the school district budget. It gets adjusted 5 times throughout the school year, and even after the school year is over. So we get our first version of the budget usually in May for the next coming year.
Right.
We're still waiting on that right now. We still don't have our first version of the budget. The second one will come on July 19th. That's state statute requires that.
Gotcha.
Okay. The next version of the budget won't come until January of that same year. Then in April or May, we'll get the 4th calculation or the 4th version of the budget, right? School year's almost over.
Right.
And then the last version of the budget doesn't even come till the school year is over and the fiscal year is done. So for instance, the 22-23 budget for that school year, the school year is done. We paid our people, we paid our bills. We got the 5th variation of the budget in January of 2024. You see how it doesn't make sense?
Yeah,
So
wow.
we have to plan for that. So we have to have our reserve or our savings account, because if they adjust us,
Then you
we've got to have that money available.
Yeah.
Now, we get paid by full-time equivalency, which means that we get paid for not every student that's enrolled, but every student that is present during an 11-day window in October and an 11-day window in February.
Okay.
If a student, let's say you're a student, and we're just going to say you're chronically absent.
Okay.
Something's going on, you don't make it to school during that 11-day window in October. We don't get paid. We don't get funded for your education for the first half of the year, even though you're a student. But maybe second half of the year, things get better for you. And Tommy is at school every day. He's making straight A's. He is present during that 11-day window in February. We get funded for you for the second half of the year, but we don't for the first. So because of that, that's why there are these adjustments with the budget.
Okay, I see now.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So it's very challenging. So we have to always be conservative. We always have to be mindful of the fact that not only do we want to be competitive with our salaries and our benefits, but we have to have financial stability for the school district.
Yeah.
And so we have to really balance that.
And a heck of a balancing act that seems. Good grief. You lost me and then got me 30 different times. Good night.
But it doesn't seem logical.
Wow.
But we can make it work.
Right.
And we do make it work. So how have I done? Well, I will just tell you our credit rating. Our S&P credit rating is an A+. And it is an A+ because we've been able to stay above what they call a 5% financial condition ratio. That's that savings account that we have.
Right.
Best practice is that you be between 5 and 10% in your savings account.
Okay.
We have chosen, the school board and I, to stay right at 5, which is the bottom end of that best practice range.
Right.
We are staying there because with 5, we can keep our S&P A+ rating, which allows us to borrow at a very low interest rate when we're building schools. And that's all that we can borrow for, by the way. But it also allows us to maximize the amount of money that we do get in our budget for salaries and benefits and programs for students. So we have to really balance, stay at 5, so we keep that S&P A+ rating, but maximize and give money that year to our employees. When we built Wallace Lake School,
it's a heck of a balancing act right there.
It is.
Nice.
When we built Wallace Lake School, we had to borrow $12 million for that project. It was a $36 million project. Cost a whole lot more now. Whole lot more now.
Yeah.
But we had a $36 million project because of the half-cent sales tax, because of our capital funding within our budget. We only had to borrow only $12 million. But we had borrowed money at a 1.3% interest rate because of our A+ credit rating.
So So that just shows you how important that is.
Exactly.
Right there, guys.
Exactly.
So I got to clap it up for you on that.
Thank you.
You guys have obviously done a great job with that. Nice.
I wish we could pay teachers double that not only our teachers, but all of our educators. Right. Because our educational support staff, our administrators, our folks in food service, bus drivers, custodial service, everybody, we have about 3,700 people that are dedicated every day to the success of our kids. And they all deserve to make more.
Absolutely.
But we have to live within that budget.
Right.
It's frustrating.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine so.
But we're still competitive. So in the last 4 years while I've been superintendent, the average increase in salary for teachers is over 16%. Okay. This year, the raise for teachers was 3.8%. State employees of Florida received a 3% raise. Okay. And we were 3.8.
All right. Nice.
And so while we're doing that, we're staying right there at that 5% financial condition ratio.
Still balancing everything out.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, I see. All right. Well, thank you for explaining that right there, because I honestly had no clue. You hear people talking about it, and it sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
I know.
But once you break it down, it starts to make sense, and so hopefully everybody at home can start to understand why things are the way they are.
It's so complicated. So this year, what I did, I developed a kind of a school finance presentation. And I went to all of our schools this spring, and then to some of our district employees. So 38 times I delivered about a 45-minute lesson in school finance. Okay. So now people understand how the sausage is made, and it's pretty ugly. Okay. And when we get our budget finally from the state, and the school board approves that final budget in September, my plan is to go back to all those schools and say, all right, here's how much new money we're going to get. This is an interesting fact. So from the 22-23 school year to the 23-24 school year, our budget increased by $9.7 million.
Okay.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay. But our expenses,
I knew there was a but coming.
I know. Our expenses increased by $14.1 million. So right off the bat, we're trying to, figure out how do we stay above 5? How do we give the best raises possible with a deficit, with deficit funding? Yeah. But we did it. We did it.
Wow. Good grief.
It is
better you than me. Oh man, bravo! That's all I'll say to that.
Listen, I don't feel like it is a team effort. I have an incredible team, but there's some help we're getting from above to work it all out.
Absolutely,
and I truly believe that.
Yes, and like we was talking about earlier, all those years of bouncing around, doing all these different jobs, that's obviously coming into play.
Yeah, the federal programs job, writing those grants, managing those, that experience helped a lot.
Absolutely. Now that we've learned how the budget and everything works and how you guys managed to make that craziness somehow work, good grief. Let's move on to fostering community relationships, such as involving parents and others that are involved in education decision-making process, and a little bit of transparency. How do you plan on getting everybody involved in that?
Well, this is a real passion of mine. So when I was the director of federal programs, I just left Chumuckla Elementary as the principal. And, when you're a school level administrator, you're mainly at your school. So when I went into this new program as director of federal programs, I really needed to develop relationships with the community. Right. Because educating our kids isn't just a K-12 school system responsibility. It's really a community responsibility.
Absolutely.
And we have so many resources and so much talent in our community. And so I went about building those relationships. And so work very closely with Department of Children and Families, with our homeless coalition, with United Way. I was part of starting a nonprofit called Santa Rosa Bridges Out of Poverty, and bringing all of those organizations and government entities together to say, how can we work? Let's not duplicate services, but what do you have to offer?
Right.
Our faith-based community as well, so important to our school system.
Yes.
So I spent a lot of time out of my office, serving on boards. I think at one point I was on 13 different boards, meeting people in the community, developing those relationships. So when I moved into the superintendency, I already had those relationships formed. Sheriff's Department, very important to me.
Yes,
of course.
absolutely.
Well, I will tell you that when I was assistant principal at Holly Navarre Middle School, Bob Johnson was the school resource officer. And I tell people I raised Bob Johnson and you're welcome.
You've done a great job.
Yes, I have. Thank you very much. He's heard me say that many, many times. So, but I had those relationships formed already. I didn't have to build those. So I could really hit the floor running with my knowledge of finance, but I have a doctorate in curriculum and instruction. So that's my passion too. Making sure that we have evidence-based, extremely effective instruction going on in classrooms that helps students prepare for the future, not just pass the state assessment, not just get the diploma.
Right.
You know, you have to have, we think long range with students.
Good.
Okay. So forming those relationships was really important and really enabled me to hit the floor running.
Awesome.
What have I done since I've been superintendent to continue to foster those relationships? Well, traditionally, the school district had had a strategic plan, an annual plan, and that's required by state statute. But it was a one-year plan, so it wasn't very future focused.
Okay.
So we shifted to a 5-year strategic plan. To do that, we didn't just develop it internally. We had 33,000 stakeholder surveys completed by anyone in the community, parents, teachers, community members, employees, students, 33,000 stakeholder surveys. We did 6 town halls all around our county. We had 34 small group discussions about what do we do well? What do we need to do differently? What do students need? And then we had over 100 one-on-one interviews with teachers, parents, employees, but especially students. What do you need? And we listened. And so our 5-year strategic plan has been built on listening and getting feedback.
I like that.
What students really told us is that they want more opportunities.
What's the big thing they wanted?
They really wanted more opportunities. We heard a lot about more dual enrollment, more honors classes. They wanted more extracurricular. In the surveys that we saw, about 25% of our students said that they didn't have any connection with their school outside of their core classes. And we know if we really want to engage students, if we want to increase student attendance, and by the way, our attendance for this past year, you hear nationally how, attendance is an issue. Right. Yeah, our attendance, our average daily attendance was 93%.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 93%. So
our
kids are coming to school. Yeah. So some of the things that we did to expand opportunities for students. Well, first of all, very exciting. We started a football program at Central School.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Varsity this past year. Junior varsity in this past year. This year they're going to have varsity.
Joe Surratt.
Yeah. If you,
I've known Joe since I was in middle school. Joe's a great guy.
If you go out there now, you're going to see a football field that's been seeded, that is irrigated. You're going to see a scoreboard. You're going to see.
I never thought I would see that.
I know. I'm very proud of that. There's a marching band out there now too.
Oh wow.
So we've got stadium seating. And of course, goalposts. Got to have goalposts, right? If you're going to play football. We have expanded our career technical education, as I said, over 177% increase in that. What's really cool is that we use this technology called broadcast classrooms. So we have these huge monitors that are on the walls, and we have great audio and video equipment. We find the very best teacher. And then, for instance, we've got incredible ag programs at Central School, both middle school and high school. Well, kids at Gulf Breeze wanted ag. They wanted to take agriculture,
okay.
but there's not a teacher down there.
Right.
So we broadcast from Central down to Gulf Breeze,
I like that.
and they get agriculture.
I like that. That's awesome.
We at a school, Jay High School, a couple years ago wanted chemistry honors, but we didn't have a certified teacher, and it was a small number. It wasn't a full class of chemistry honors teachers. So we used that same broadcast technology to broadcast from Milton High School, where we had an outstanding chemistry honors teacher, up to Jay.
That's great.
Because it caught on so well, now they have a full-time teacher at Jay, and there's a full schedule of kids that have access to chemistry honors.
That's awesome.
We have orchestra programs that we started at Gulf Breeze Middle and Gulf Breeze High. That's one of the things they wanted. They also wanted to have a girls' beach volleyball team. Yep. They have one. And in its second year, their state championship. Yes. And they are rated #1 by Max Preps.
Wow. Second year.
Yes.
Good night.
We started middle school sports. Never middle school sports in the history of Santa Rosa County. When we moved here, my kids were in middle school, and they were so disappointed that we didn't have middle school sports. So I'm very proud now that we do. We had cross country, we had track, and we had 3-on-3 basketball.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's been wildly successful.
So much has changed since I was in school. Good grief. I got to say, going back to what I was talking about, Joe, that fence, you came in outside up there, that big white fence. Joe is one of the ones, many of half the kids that went to Pace High School put that thing together out there. But yeah, you guys got a great coach in Joe out there.
He's starting a great program.
He's going to do a great job. Good night. Yeah. Only back in the day, only school sports that we had, was PE and stuff like that. But, and then afterwards, you would get out of school, go home, change, and then go to practice at Paris, something like that.
Exactly.
Now, you have that connection to the schools.
You do.
That is a big deal right there.
It really is.
I'm really glad you guys have got that going.
If I may talk about communication for a minute.
Absolutely.
So that was another thing that parents really said to us. We want to, sometimes you communicate too much, sometimes you communicate too little, school district. And there are a bunch of different apps, and so you could have one student and teachers have 5 different apps that they're using to communicate. Very confusing for families. Or if you have children in multiple grade levels, you've got different apps. So we streamline that. And now we have one app that we use throughout the school district. We also started a multimedia. If you're not a subscriber to this, a multimedia monthly magazine called Leaps and Bounds. Okay, comes out every month.
Now, can anybody?
You can. You can absolutely go to santarosaschools.org and you can register to get that monthly newsletter.
And guys, when I put this out on the screen, it'll have all this information. So if you want to subscribe to it, you'll be able to subscribe to that. And I'm going to suggest you do that.
Absolutely. So you'll see speeches, you'll see concerts, you'll see slideshows. It is interactive. It is really wonderful, and it's you can go back and see every issue of Leaps and Bounds since we started it 2.5 years ago.
Nice.
So that's one of our communication techniques. Of course, you've probably seen we have a lot of press releases that come out now.
Oh, yeah.
And because we have a public information family outreach officer. Okay. I started that position when I took office because we had some federal grants that would allow us to, especially in the times of the pandemic and remote learning. We wanted to re-engage our community, and we've continued to keep that up with our communication. We started a district parent advisory council. So I meet with that council 4 times a year, and there are parent representatives from all of our schools. And then we have a LEAP council. Now, LEAP stands for Love, Educate, and Prepare Students, right? So Leaps and Bounds is our magazine, and our LEAP council is comprised of the Teacher of the Year, the Ed Support Employee of the Year, and from every school, and the Rookie of the Year from every school. And we meet with them to get their feedback. Next year, I'll be starting one with student representatives and have a student council from all of our high schools.
I like that. Good grief. You just overwhelmed me. Good grief. You guys have done so much.
Thank
you. 4 years. Wow. It makes you imagine what else
it is the collective contributions of everybody. It really is.
Well, it sounds like everybody's on the balls. It sounds like.
We're blessed. We're very blessed. We are that we have such a great community. But I'm telling you what, our educators, and when I say educators, I mean everybody. Right. Teachers, paraprofessionals, bus drivers, all 3,700 people, because, as a child, you watch every adult and you're learning from every single one of them,
absolutely.
right? So we have a great climate and culture. When we did our strategic plan, we revised our mission and our vision statement. And most organizations have a mission and vision statement. And most people don't know what it is, because you do it and it's on letterhead or it's on a sign. Ours is very easy, and you'll remember it because it is so simple, but it's so important. Our mission in Santa Rosa County is to love, educate, and prepare all students for graduation and a successful future.
I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. And like you said, that's something that they can remember right there. It's not just something, that's it right there. Yeah, no, you can remember that right there, because for one, it actually has meaning.
It does.
That's a big deal right there. Loved it. Loved it. You guys have done so much.
Thank you, Tommy.
It's crazy. All right, let's move on now. School safety. This is such a big deal right here. We hear people constantly talking about the many different things on it, but what measures have you guys taken on safety and policies on emergency prep? And a big one, sadly, is school bullying and prevention. Right.
So with the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas tragedy, state statute requires that, well, first of all, they give us an allocation in our budget every year for school safety. And that money is used to assist us with school safety officers.
Right.
Now, in Santa Rosa County, we have committed to having school resource officers, deputies in all of our schools.
Right.
Okay. So we contract with the Sheriff's Department for that. Okay. We also have what is required is our school safety director. So we employ a school safety director that oversees the safety for our school district. Some of the money is used for school hardening. So we want to make sure that we have single points of entry, that, you just can't walk in the door.
Right.
That we have fencing, and we're continuing to use our funds for fencing around our schools to make them as secure as possible. Then there's a lot of training that goes in. So a lot of required drills, even active shooter drills, sadly, we have to have with our students.
Yep.
But it is a reality, and we do have those drills, and those are documented. From the state level, they come and inspect our schools to make sure that we're in compliance with all of those safety regulations. And we've done very, very well with them. Every year, there's a new layer of safety requirements, and so we train everyone in those as well, and then provide the documentation to the state when they come and do those inspections. So we're very vigilant with that.
Good.
And when we do have something that's a safety issue, we want to make sure right away that the public information officer is working right away to inform parents and families. We work very closely with the public information officer for the Sheriff's Department too, because if it's safety related, they're always involved, of course. But we try very, very hard. You mentioned bullying. So of course we have strict rules within our code of student conduct related to bullying. Our kids take a code of conduct test, but we have a lot of things in place to really address bullying. And one of the first things that you have to do is really to create that climate and culture at a school that does not tolerate that kind of behavior.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's not just saying don't do that.
Right.
Okay. But let's create a culture that is counter to bullying, that focuses on kindness and compassion. So at our middle schools and high schools, and we'll be starting these at elementary as well, we have what's called the Hope Squads.
Okay.
And it's a student group led by a teacher sponsor. At every grade level. And that Hope Squad is really focused on creating that culture of kindness, respect, compassion. And then also, and the students select who's going to be part of the Hope Squad, so that we reflect, the demographics of a school.
Gotcha.
So we might have the football captain on there. We might have the cheerleader.
Right.
But we're going to have kids that are in the chess club. We're going to have kids that aren't in any club.
Right.
Because we want to make sure that everybody has somebody on that campus that they can go to.
Absolutely.
And say, man, I'm having a really hard time. I think I need some help.
Gotcha.
And then the Hope Squad works with their sponsor to get that student the assistance that they need. Of course, working with the family, calling the family right away to say, hey, we have some concerns. Something might be going on with your child. Can we talk about this? And what kind of resources and support can we put in place? We do a lot of work in the area of student mental health, and those are required by statute as well.
See, and that's something you don't hear a lot about, is that part right there. And that plays a very big deal into it.
Yeah.
You know, that one right there, growing up and everything, you knew what bullying was. You know, everybody's dealt with it in some way, shape, form, or fashion, but it just seems how it's changed over the years to what it is now. It's just, I don't know how it's gotten to how extreme it is nowadays. It's like, something's wrong. We need to fix it.
And a lot of that is social media, right?
Yes.
So one of the things with social media and phones is now it's required by state statute that phones are only used for an instructional purpose. So if you walk into our classrooms, you're going to see in many classrooms, they have like a shoe, a plastic shoe pouch, and there's numbers on there, and the kids' phones go in the shoe pouch. If they need to use it for instructional purposes, then they get the phone. But it is required by state statute that the teacher have a place designated where students put their phones, so they're not using them during class.
Good.
And that limits the time that they're on that screen, and limits the amount of time that somebody could be, texting or posting something that is going to be of a bullying nature.
And that's the big thing right there. That's what's changed, the social media aspect. It's, used to, you only had to deal with it when you went to school. Once you left school, it was over. With. Now it's there 24/7.
It is.
And so now that's why kids are doing sadly, some of the things that are going on now. So thank you guys for doing that right there and understanding that problem and actually trying to do something about it. All right. Facilities and infrastructure. You've hit on some of this, but what plans, if any, are there for maintaining and upgrading the facilities you guys currently have? And also hit on a big one, overcrowding.
Sure. So, since I've been superintendent, we opened up East Bay K-8, and that is a kindergarten through 8th grade school in the south end of our county. And that alleviated some of the overcrowding that we had in some of our elementary schools. And as you know, right down the road from you, this year we opened up Wallace Lake K-8. So another kindergarten through 8th grade school that serves the North Pace community and just south of Chumuckla. So that school filled up right away. And of course, you can see all the development and all the growth, and there are pros and cons to that. Absolutely. But we love the opportunity to educate, and we really feel that we are the best choice. Lots of choices families have now for where they educate their children. And so I hope what your viewers have heard today is, wow, Santa Rosa offers a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to choose them.
Absolutely.
And we will proudly take those students. We are in the middle of construction on a new high school in the south end of our county called Soundside High School. It's right across from the zoo and in the Gulf Breeze area, right on 98. That school will open up in the fall of 2027. It will also be a satellite campus for Laughlin Technical College, which is part of our school district. And, we hear from a lot of our constituents in the South End that Laughlin is great, but it's just too far. So now there'll be a satellite campus on Soundside High School.
Like that.
We're going to add a vet tech program because we're right across the street from the zoo.
That is awesome right there.
We're going to add a small engine repair program, because that is an in-demand, high-wage job. One thing that I haven't talked about, and this is really construction as well, but I mentioned to you we've been very competitive and aggressive going after grants, and so we were awarded this past year a $9 million Triumph grant. This was from the BP oil spill. So Triumph of the Gulf Coast is the nonprofit that handles the money that BP was required to pay to this area, mainly for workforce education. So we got a $9 million grant, and we are using that money to establish the Santa Rosa Center for Innovation. So we have secured a building on Highway 90, and that building will be all about engineering, robotics, drone activity, And those are all industry certified programs.
Next generation stuff right there.
Yeah. So we're very excited about that. So we're working with our engineers and our architects to take that building and renovate it so that it has classroom space, state of the art. But then we also have a warehouse that's part of this in the back of this building that will be our drone field. So we will have drone competitions in there. Agriculture will be involved. Hopefully Florida Power and Light will be a partner of us. The military will be involved. We're in meetings right now with Space Florida to bring the aerospace engineering programs to our county. Okay. And so that's really exciting. We hope to have a space academy for students in our area, host that.
That would be awesome.
So we're, there's, and you know, every job that is needed on Earth is needed in space.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And there's no reason that those aerospace industry jobs don't need to just be on the Space Coast, you know, at Cape Canaveral.
Right.
They can be here in Santa Rosa County.
Absolutely. I'm not going to lie. You wowed me with all this information today. And I've got to say, if I'm a student in Santa Rosa County, there you have a lot to be excited about.
Yeah. Thank you.
You've done a great job hitting the questions that we brought at you. So I want to give you an opportunity now to cover anything you want to cover before we get out of here, and tell us about who may be pushing for you to keep this job and all of that.
Right. Well, it's been my privilege, to serve as superintendent, but such a blessing to be part of this school system in this community for the last 27 years.
Absolutely.
I thank the Air Force for that. We chose Santa Rosa specifically because my husband was stationed at Eglin, and we chose Santa Rosa.
There you go.
Never regretted that decision for a minute, but I built some great relationships. And those relationships have continued to serve this county as I've been superintendent. Some of them, some of the folks that I have strong relationships with that are endorsing me. U.S. Congressman retired Jeff Miller.
Good friend of mine and my dad's.
Yes, yeah. Terrific person, and his wife, Vicki. They are both.
She's the rock behind Jeff. There was no Vicki. Dad's always said there was no Vicki, there would be no Jeff.
They are wonderful, and they care so much about this school district, and I'm humbled to have their support.
Awesome.
Florida Senator Doug Broxson.
Right.
Okay. Former Florida Senator Don Gates, who is running for re-election as senator. Representative Michelle Salzman.
She's another good one.
Yep. Congressman Matt Gates has also endorsed me.
There you go.
Okay. Former superintendent of schools, John Rogers, who served for 8 years as superintendent in our school district.
One of my idols.
Yes,
Johnny
sir.
Rogers.
You bet.
That's my guy right there.
That's right. Yeah. He's a wonderful educator, and I'm humbled to have his support as well. He knows this job. He knows the weight of this job.
Absolutely.
And he's been a great advisor over the years. Some retired Sheriff Wendell Hall. Very happy about that. From the beginning, when Wendell ran his first race as a Republican, I was living in Navarre at the time, my husband and I, and we supported Wendell all the way. So I've known Wendell a very long time.
Nice.
Dr. Randy Reese, he's a pediatrician in the Gulf Breeze area that I've known for almost 30 years, and also supporting Tamara Fountain, who is a businesswoman in the Navarre community, also endorsing me. Bubba Drinker, you may know Bubba.
Oh yeah, Bubba's a great guy.
Bubba's retired now from the property appraiser's office.
He gets to relax.
Yes, He stays busy though. He's very involved with the Ed Foundation, and he was also a former school board member in Santa Rosa County. So I'm happy to have his endorsement. The Navarre Area Board of Realtors is also endorsing me. They did my first time, and they are for my reelection. And the Santa Rosa Conservative Alliance also endorsing me.
You got some heavy hitters there.
Yeah.
That's wow.
It is humbling.
And
it really is.
I mean, that right there tells you the type of job that you've done, obviously. Because if you haven't done a good job, they wouldn't be on board with you.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you.
That
again,
says a lot right there.
I surround myself with really wonderful, passionate people who want to do everything they can to help our kids have a great life.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And any decision that doesn't align with that, we need to move on from.
Absolutely. So, I enjoyed sitting down with you today. I had no clue the education I was about to get. And these folks watching this, I'm telling you, they're going to be shocked hearing all the stuff that is going on. So I want to say thank you so much for coming on and
Thank you.
sitting down with us. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I'm so grateful for the opportunities I've had, every single one in the last 27 years in Santa Rosa County. And my children are products of our school district as well. But this is just such an amazing community. And This is a very, very daunting responsibility to have the lives of these children. Parents have choices now. Right. They can homeschool, they can go to private school. And so we're humbled and so grateful that we get the opportunity to educate their children and to work with them as parents, because they have these children for life, and they're sending us their children, and we need to honor that and respect that.
Exactly.
And I do. So and so does everybody that works with me in our school district. We know that we're getting somebody's baby.
That's right. That's right. That's their whole world right there.
I appreciated everyone's vote. Who voted for me the first time, and I, just humbly ask for, for everyone to vote, whether it's by mail, early voting, which starts August 5th, or on election primary day. That is the day that the superintendent's race will be decided on, August 20th. So people need to make sure to vote in the primary, because that's when the next superintendent will be decided upon, and I'm confident that will remain Karen Barber.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Now, is there any website or any phone number, anything like that you want to put out there so if folks want to reach out to you?
Vote drkarenbarber.org.
All right. We're going to put that on the screen, guys. So if you guys want to reach out to her, there's one of the ways right there.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Barber, thank you very much. It has been an absolute honor, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I'm Tommy Nichols here with Miss Karen Barber. Toodles.